There's no telling how many people will ultimately have their pensions cut. It is a fact, however, that the current system is underfunded, despite the performance of equities. Since this has happened many times before, how long until your pension is next on the chopping block? You came here for the truth. Today, we are going to look at the situation with pensions, how they are underfunded, and I want to show you the charts. I want to show you the articles and the real situation that is going on today. Another blow for Heartland workers slashed pensions, okay? What we have in this case here, the retired Ohio iron workers. And what you're looking at is an individual who had his pension cut more than half, from $3,700 to $1,600. So imagine this individual here, Larry, in this case, he had budgeted for $3,700. And he thought he was going to be able to pay his mortgage, maybe his rent, his food, energy, maybe going out to restaurants, maybe buying gifts for his children or wife or family or whoever. That was all budgeted based on that $3,700. He had been putting into his pension with the intention that when he retired, he would get $3,700. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. He's going to get less than half of that. So when you think that pension funds may be looted and you think to yourself that can happen, well, it has happened. This isn't the only case. It's not just Larry who's suffering. There's a lot of people out there who had the same thing happening to them, and I will show you those examples. Let's look at this, a graphical explanation for the underfunded pensions. And you'll notice these are big companies. Intel, you're looking at American Airlines, you're looking at DuPont, and many others. So this would tell me that it's got nothing to do with the performance of any particular company or even the performance of equities. This is simply a means of siphoning wealth from the average citizen into the hands of the corporations. That's what this is. It's a fact. Equities have been performing so well. Look at bonds. Look at the investments that are being made by these different hedge funds, investment funds, anything else. And you'll notice they're all invested in all the same things. And yet, somehow, these are underfunded. I don't really understand what's happening here other than the fact that it's pure theft. That's the way I look at it. There's no other way to depict that. All right. The S&P 500's biggest pension plans face a $382 billion funding gap. Now that's massive. The government may decide to bail that out, but I think they want to squeeze people a little more. They want them to be poor, so I don't necessarily think they'll be bailing that out, although with the way the governments work these days, they simply bail out everything. People who rely, now check this out, because it sounds like a money GPS line. People who rely on company pension plans to fund their retirement may be in for a shock. Of the 200 biggest defined benefit plans in the S&P 500 based on assets, 186 aren't fully funded. Simply put, they don't have enough money to fund the current and future retirees. What does that tell you? That should be a warning sign. That should be a red flag. That should be sirens going off and a red alert saying we have a problem. This is critical, but nothing will be done. Nothing will be done to resolve this because you can't increase the performance anymore. Look how well the stock market has been doing. This is intentional. I'll move on to showing you one typical example of that. It's Greece with their austerity measures. Greece will avoid default after bailout deal, but faces more austerity. That's right, you're saved. We're just going to take your money. Oh, we'll save you, all right? We're just going to take your money. That's the mafia. That's gangsters, and that's what this is. There's no other way to put it. They give in to these deals because their overlords say that they must. The IMF, the EU, and then you have the government who has basically no say in it all. And ultimately the people are hurt. The austerity measures strangle people, and yes, you may agree with austerity in some ways. However, what I don't like is people were told they would get one thing and then they get something less. If they're told that, they're going to expect it. If they expect it and they don't get it, they're going to riot on the streets. That's what happened in Greece. That's what will happen in other cities as well. There's a few examples in here. I just want to touch on them. For example, the nearly 200 retirees in California is now defunct. This Human Services Consortium, an employment and job agency, goes on and on. Their pensions were cut as much as 63%. Okay, moving on. Looking at this here, this one particular CalPERS whose pension debt stands at 170 billion, impossible to ever pay back. Looking further in, think it can't happen to your city. Look, Detroit, Michigan, Central Falls, Rhode Island are polar opposites in many ways, but they have one thing in common. Both slashed their retirees' pensions when the cities filed for bankruptcy. All right? So then you go to Detroit. Bankruptcy again. Thousands of retirees saw their pensions cut by 4.5%. Cost of living allowances are eliminated. Healthcare benefits reduced. And it goes on. Look at this. Central Falls cut their pensions of its retirees, 133 of them, by as much as 55% when the city filed for bankruptcy. All right? It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter who's affected by it. Let's say directly, this will have a ripple effect. You will be affected by this, I assure you. Maybe you don't have a pension plan, but let's say the neighbor to your left and right do, and guess whose door they're going to be coming knocking on when they're hungry. That's my concern. People will act irrationally, or perhaps rationally, but they'll lose it all. And that's really what I see happening. When you want to talk about stocks and all this stuff, it doesn't matter when you have a serious situation like this. This is one of the lines that I think about all the time, pretty much every single day. It's from 1984, George Orwell. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. And that is becoming more of a reality every single day. We have funded a system, we have allowed a system to be created that is in fact a detriment to our health, to our livelihood, and to everything we stand for. And that boot crushing the face is such a very accurate description of what I see, what I read, and what I hear about from different people who have communicated to me over the years. This is our future. Our best chance of turning this around is done at the grassroots, done at an individual level. So people are always asking, well, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? I'll tell you what I would like to do about it for myself. And that is move to a more rural area where I would have greenhouses, where I would be able to grow my own food. And just so we're aware, we're on that topic, if you live in a cold climate, as I do, you can have a greenhouse that will, in fact, not require any heating, and you can grow some pretty good food within that, no matter how cold your climate is. I would check out One Yard Revolution. I would also check out John Kohler. Those are two on YouTube that I believe are important for you to check out. Or the 4-Season Harvest. That's something else. So you want to also make sure that your savings are not in the banking system. If you keep all your savings in the banking system, you simply are taking a risk. You need some, obviously, for day-to-day expenses, but you don't want to keep your savings there. It's not necessarily a savings account, though they claim it is. Will they take your money? I don't know. Maybe not. But they have set up the bail-in regime in Canada, bail-in strategy under the G20 nations to do so. So, they've already laid the groundwork. Do you want to be there at that time when they pull the trigger? And what I would suggest to people is to get a handle on all of your preparation. I think it's so crucial. So those are just a few points. Hope you appreciate that. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up for the solutions. And if you found this video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. So you can check these books out at Amazon. There's a link in the description below, which will allow you to flip through the pages of these books. Take care.